Dear students, greetings to all. In this module, we'll be continuing with our ongoing chapter of biology, chapter 8, How Do Organisms Reproduce? In this module, we will be basically talking about sexual reproduction. How do you define sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction may be defined as the production of offsprings, that is, new individuals, by the fusion of gametes, the male and the female gamete, so as to form a zygote having two nuclei, which then develop into the mature organism. So, what we can see over here is the sperm, which is motile in nature, as it has got a tail. It requires it for its wiggling motion so that it can reach the female gamete, that's the egg. So it will fuse with the egg and then it will result in the formation of zygote, which will develop into embryo and finally the fetus. So sexual reproduction, it involves the fusion of two gametes, that's the male gamete and the female gamete, which is referred to as fertilization, and then it results in the formation of a single cell, that is zygote, having two nuclei. Sexual reproduction. Why is sexual mode of reproduction a necessity when organisms can easily reproduce by asexual mode? The errors during the DNA copying that leads to variation. Variation, it will not protect all the individuals in a population, but it guarantees better survival chances because the environment keeps on changing. And thus, the organism need to incorporate or induce variation in them so as to ensure their survival. When we talk about the DNA replication, it takes place in a semi-conservative manner. Let us understand this with the help of this diagram. Now here in the pictorial representation, what we see as A, T, G, C, these are the nitrogenous bases. This is a DNA strand which is opened up. The pink one is the parental strand. So the pink depicts the parental strand, and the blue one, which is synthesized corresponding to it, that is the new strand or the daughter strand. Thus, the individuals which are produced, they are not the clone of the parents. They have some variation introduced in them, which helps in better chances of survival. So all these variations, they get accumulated, they are transmitted from one generation to the next generation. But new generation, it will not have twice the amount of DNA because of the process of reduction division, which is referred to as meiosis. So when we talk about the division of a cell, that means a cell dividing into two, that is cell division. So it is of two types. One is mitosis and the other one is meiosis, wherein meiosis is referred to as reduction division. Now what we can see over here, this is the male gamete, that's the sperm. This is the egg, which is the female gamete. This pictorial representation is showing the fusion of the sperm head. It is getting inserted into the egg. Now here we can see that both the gametes which are produced, that is the zoospores which are produced, they are similar. So during meiosis, the gamete, that means the male and the female gamete, the sperm and the egg, they undergo reduction division and they produce half the number of chromosome. So when the chromosome number gets halved and then they form the zygote, zygote will have the same chromosomal constitution. Like if you're talking about Homo sapiens, it will be 23 pairs of chromosomes only. It will not get doubled. So in very simple organisms, this germ cells, we can see that they are very much similar to each other. Whereas when we talk about the higher organisms like us, we'll see that the germ cells, the male gamete and the female gamete, they are different in their structural organization. Like the male gamete is very small in size, and it has got a tail which helps in which gives it motility and helps in wriggling motion. Whereas the female gamete, it is larger in size, it is non-motile, the function is to provide nourishment. Talking about sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Now, what is a flower? How do you define flower? So, flower in case of angiosperms, that is the reproductive part of the plant, because it comprises of the male and the female gamete, the androecium and the gynoecium, the male and the female reproductive part. So basically, the flower comprises of the accessory whorls or the additional whorls like sepals and petals, and the essential or the reproductive whorl, that is the stamen, the pistil, or we could call it as the androecium and the gynoecium. The calyx, which is a group of sepals, is the outermost part which is green in color, and it protects the flower in its bud condition. So we can see that many flowers, when they are in the bud condition, they are covered by green colored structure which are referred to as the calyx. So what we can see over here, this green color structure, that's the calyx, and the stalk of the flower, that's the pedicel. So these green color structures, they are the group of sepals, and they provide protection. We can see that the petals, the group of petals is what is referred to as the corolla. So the petals, they are brightly colored, they have got nectar, they smell beautifully so as to attract the pollinators. Such kind of flowers which are pollinated by insect, they are called as entomophilous flowers, like honeybees. If we talk about the flowers which lack nectar or beautiful smell or which are colorless, they are generally anemophilous, that refers to wind pollinated flowers. So in this module, we had a detailed discussion on what is sexual reproduction all about, why it plays a pivotal role in complex organisms, and we discussed about two important accessory whorls, that is calyx and corolla. In the next module, we'll study about the longitudinal section of flower in detail, and we'll have a detailed discussion on pollination. Thank you for being a patient listener.